Let's talk about today's lesson. It's number 7 and it's about strategy. It could be the most important lesson we have.
Yeah, well, I think not enough attention paid to it, really, Jed. One of the strategies I did hear somebody posted the other day was his strategy was get up to the ball, whack it, whack it again, which I thought was interesting. But before I go on to strategy, Jed, if I can just take a minute just to explain something to anybody that's listening. What we've been doing in the first 6 of these is probably, hopefully, getting people to understand that if they put their attention on an external focus as opposed to being internally driven, they're going to get mastery of their game and swing a lot easier and quicker, and they develop their improvement a lot faster. By external focus, what I mean is that if you remember that yellow line, I think you probably see it still there. If you put your attention on hitting the yellow line, your body works out a way of doing that, rather than having to try and put your hands in a certain place and whatever. If we talk about visualization and target, it's always about an external focus. So rather than being inside the body, we can be aware of it, but having an external focus is what we've been doing for the last six sessions. Does that? Do you get that? Do you understand that?
That resonates, John. I've been there. It's been a mantra I've been following. Yeah.
Yeah. So for everybody that hasn't worked that one out, much more on external focus, external attention, rather than being in the cells trying to fix a swing. So if you take that onto the golf course, it will help you. So, strategy. Do we have one? Should we have one? I think people are far too lax generally on having a strategy. Now, there are 2 things that affect your strategy. One is your level of competence, your skill set, and 2 is the conditions. Now, there is a third we can introduce, and that's if you're in match play and you're playing an opponent who's in trouble, gone out of bounds or whatever. Maybe the situation's there where you start to play the person as opposed to the course. But if we take the 2 main ones, and that is your level of confidence and the conditions, that's where we start with. So the first thing you need to do is assess your playing level, your hitting ability, your striking ability, your ability to get to the green in a certain number of shots. Now, most people look at the card and say it's a par 4, I need to be on the green in 2, etc., etc. And that, for a lot of players, maybe on the 7th, maybe the 10th in 3 for a lot of players, isn't an option. And there's nothing wrong in playing to your ability and to your strengths, and having a strategy to get the ball to a certain place which allows you to knock it on the green, etc., and walk off with a bogey, a par, whatever. But the first thing, you must understand what your playing ability is. The second thing in terms of playing ability is understand as well what your go-to ball flight is. So if you are a left to right player, as most people are, then when you stand on, for example, the 10th tee, and you look at that and you think, I've got left to right, the wind's off the left, you've got to have a strategy there, haven't you? You've got to have a position that you want to put the ball in. And now what I would say is you take a club which doesn't put so much spin on it and knock it to the right, you let go of length, you play it up to the next one, you knock it up short, you knock it on in 4, not 3. We're obsessed with always finding the length instead of the position. So strategy is really about position. So if you can't get up onto a hole in the card regulation, put your own regulation on it and make sure that you have a strategy to put the ball there. Now, I did mention this the other day as well. One of the things that helps you understand the strategy that you need to adopt is to take a look at the hole from the hole back to the tee. It changes your perspective. And if you start from that position, you say, right, my shot is a left to right shot. And where do I want to be on this hole, which will give me the best place? Where's my approach shot from on here? So your strategy becomes from the hole back, and it changes everything. And the other thing I would say about strategy is don't go for the driver all the time. Driver all the time is not necessary. Many of the holes that we play do not require a driver. And yet it's the first thing, we just get it out of the bag without any thought about what's happening with the conditions, whether the wind's behind, when it's off the left, off the right, how it's going to affect our stock shot. So I would say to anybody, everybody, start to plan your game around your playing ability and make it your own assessment of how far you hit it, what the shape of your shot is, and where you need to be to give you the best shot into the green, how you're going to get there, and walk off with 2 putts and put your score down. If you do that, you start to find that you'll end up having a positive approach to where you want to be, as opposed to a negative approach to trying to avoid going to the right or to the left or in the bunker or whatever. Because what happens is, if we don't have that strategy, we start to play with avoidance. And avoidance comes because we play with our subconscious mind as opposed to our conscious mind. So let me just explain that. Excuse me a second, I'm just going to get this. I wasn't going to do this, but here we go. If we take this Swiss ball here, and we take this golf ball, see the golf ball? The golf ball is the conscious mind, and this is the unconscious mind. And that's about the proportion of it. And we all play in this conscious mind. So if we get a strategy that's right, and we get into our comfort zone more, we can let go of the thought process, and we can get hooked up on our target, knowing that our target is right for our ability. And when we get into the I'm just going to move that way. If you get into the unconscious mind and allow that to take over, the unconscious mind doesn't recognize and can't compute negatives. So when you stand on the tee with a driver, the wind's off the left and it's out of bounds down the right, you're saying to yourself, don't go right, don't go right. Well, in the subconscious mind, which takes over, it cannot understand the word don't. It can't compute a negative. So all it hears is go right, and that's where you'll end up. So having a strategy which puts you in a comfort zone, which puts you in a place where you know that if you get there, if you get to that place, you've got an easier shot to the green, etc., allows you to swing with more freedom and allows you to go to target. A strategy also creates a target. Now the target is massively, massively important. The more that you are defined, you define your target, the more that it has a goal, the more it has a purpose, the more times you will get there. The more the body will move to the target, the more you'll send the club to the target. But if it's a target which is, or if you're thinking about avoidance of going somewhere, because you haven't got a strategy, your only strategy is don't go left, don't go in the bunker, don't be short, then you'll end up being short, being left, being in the bunker. That's how it works. So I don't think people generally have a real assessment of their playing ability. They don't understand their stock shot, their go-to shot, which may not be pretty, but it's not in trouble. And they don't create a plan, which is a flexible plan, but they don't create a plan which allows them to be their best and to swing with freedom. Does that make sense to you?
It makes perfect sense, and I'm just thinking again about taking spin off the shot by having an 80% swing. I just love that, and I wish that our viewers will take that on board if they're at that stage in the game where they could gain so much, couldn't they?
Well, yeah, spin is a massive factor. Look, when people take out their driver, let's take the driver for example, because the driver is the one that affects us a lot more, it seems, than other clubs, doesn't it? So we get onto the 10th. Let's bring the 10th into it with that field on the right and all the rest. You know, you take a long walk back to the tee. You stand on the tee, and the first thing you look at, you think, I don't want to go left, I don't want to go right. Okay, so you want to go down the middle. But the more you take out this driver, and the more you try to hit it, generally speaking, is the steeper you will come into the shot and the more spin you will put on the ball. If you go across it and put the left or right spin on it, you will exaggerate the spin. If you want to get the ball straighter and you want to get less spin, then you hit it softer. If you let me just explain that. If I'm heading into the wind with a driver, or in fact any club, then I would want to hit the ball a little harder into the wind. Sorry, a little softer into the wind. Because the harder I hit it, the more it exaggerates the spin. If I'm downwind, then I want to hit it a bit harder. Because I need to impart more spin on it, because the wind isn't going to affect the spin too much. Does that make sense? It's actually contrary to what we stand there thinking. So softer into the wind and take your 3-wood more often. But look, have a strategy to get you to the hole in the shots that you're comfortable in taking. The card is not relevant to your playing ability. And people don't plan their game around their ability. So just sit down, look at the card, look from the hole back when you're on the course, say, where do I ideally want to be with the shot that I have that puts me on the green? Then you go back beyond that. Where do I want to be in order for me to get to there? And then where do I want to be off the tee? And it changes everything. You know, if you look at the fifth, everybody pretty much, don't they, get on the fifth, even though they can't get on the green in 3 shots, let's say. I'm only talking about, Mr. Average in the club and whatever. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether it's, who it is, what hole. This is just an example. A lot of club golfers cannot get on the green in 3 shots. And out comes the driver, and into play, because out comes the driver, out comes the out of bounds. Because the harder they try to hit it to get length, the more spin they put on it, goes left and right, it goes. Why don't they just take 3, knock it, or a hybrid, knock it down the left, knock it to the bottom of the hill, knock it over the top, and knock it on. The important thing is to be left of that ridge, so you're not having to climb over the ridge to get it far enough left and far enough forward. I believe that, and I haven't spoken to him about this, but I believe Paul Lowry doesn't take a wood off there at all. He takes an iron. Whacks an iron down the left, knocks it over the hill, and then knocks it on. See, there's too much risk. If you're too far back, there's too much risk, isn't there? So just thinking about where you are comfortable in an 80% swing to get the ball to will help you a lot to manage yourself around the golf course. It will put you in a better frame of mind because you will be in your comfort zone more often. And being in your comfort zone and swinging with flow is massively important. And if you have a strategy, you will have a target. And the more you have a focus on a target, that's a positive target, I want to be there because, whatever the reasons are, I want to be there in that position, left of centre, it's going to come in, whatever it is, that allows for my shot. The more important the target becomes, the more you will be in the zone when you play golf. The more relevant the target is, the goal is, and the more you are attached to the target, the more you will swing to the target, the more you will swing without trying, the more you will let go, the more you will be in the zone. So the first thing about getting in the zone is being in a target, in a goal, and having an undeniable goal. And at the moment, when I see people going around, they get on the tee, and their first thought is, let's just get this off the tee. Well, you've got to get it somewhere. And that's all strategy and planning and management. And if the wind's blowing and it's a par, if the wind's blowing and it's a par 4, but today, because the wind is blowing 30 miles an hour into your face, then today it's 3 shots to the green. And there's nothing wrong with that. So where do I want to be playing my 3rd shot because I can't get up in 2 shots? And a classic is the 11th at Castletown, 430 odd yards. Wind into. It's a par 5 for most players if they hit 3 good shots onto the green. But people stand on the tee, get out the big bird, put too much spin on it, doesn't go anywhere near as far as they think, end up whacking the next one and taking 4 and 5 to get on the green because they've got no thought process other than let's get it as far as we can. Distance is not everything in golf.
I must say,
strategy. It's a game of chess.
I must say, John, I have actually got a confession on this subject because right through me golfing life, when you're playing into the wind, I love the thought of smashing down with a long iron, chopping it into the wind, squeezing, compressing the ball forward, and I'm thinking more often than not it's spun off to the right because I've not done that 80% method. I've just been trying to smash the living daylights out of it.
You need to take spin off, Jed. You need to get spin off. Now, that's why one of the reasons why a 3-wood for a lot of players just feels so great off the tee. It's amazing, isn't it, how little distance you can lose if you put a nice swing on a 3-wood, for example. It's just a natural feel and the way it goes, and you've got actually less spin on it than hitting down and into the golf ball with a driver. And I noticed it in the match play at the weekend on some of the par 3s. These pros were wanting to hit the big high wedges into these shots, 106 yards with the wedge. And then the wind was taking it and they were going down the left and down the valley into bunkers. And very few took the spin off because they wanted to hit the wedge. They couldn't get that 3/4 swing.
So okay then.
It's just an amazing thing.
Okay. So it seems to me, because I've been playing every day this last weekend and what have you, and I've been working on swinging at 80%, 70%, 60%. And it's remarkable that I'm hitting the ball the same distance. The timing is fantastic, and I'm enjoying every moment, and I'm not pulling me back out. So when do we really, in all honesty, give it 100%? I don't think that happens unless you're downwind and you feel like you need to smash it.
Well, if you're downwind, you certainly need to be releasing a little bit more because the ball isn't going to get up in the air so much because the wind isn't in the spin and lifting it. It's not elevating it. So, I'm not advocating you go and try and whack the hell out of it on downwind either. I'm just making the point that if you're into wind, it's actually less of a hit that you want than if you're downwind. But it is understanding, isn't it, what it takes for me, you, whoever, what are our skill sets? Where is my strength? Where are my weaknesses? Where do I want to be on the golf course, which allows me the best opportunity to get onto the middle of the green? Now, the other thing that can happen in terms of strategy is that as you walk up the first green at rounding, you take a look at where the pin is on the third. When you walk off on the 6, when you walk on the 6, on the 6th tee, look at the 7th, etc. Knowing where the pin is quite important because that might change your thinking. It might say that if the pin, for example, is on the left-hand side, tucked in on the left bank on the 7th, you don't really want to be left of that pin, do you? You've got no shot in. So you might want to say, well, I want to be short and right if I can't get on the middle of the green. You've got to change the way that you think, and you've got to have this understanding of where you want the ball to be. It's all target. It's not about distance. Another one would be the 13th. We had this conversation the other night. 13th, left of 13, up that bank is dead. It's absolutely dead. There's no shot from there. So what you want to be doing is on that tee is saying, right, I want to get the middle of the green. What club do I need to take there to get to the middle of the green? But if I'm not going to get the middle of the green, where do I want to leave it? And I would want to leave it short right or to the right. I wouldn't want to leave it high left. And how many people, and me included, end up high left and playing a shot which, it's just not in our comfort zone. So don't put yourself in places where you are uncomfortable and not being able to commit to the shot because it's not within your skill set. That's really what strategy is about, and you can plan a strategy before you get out of your car.
Would
Does
therefore
that make sense to everybody?
It does, John, and would therefore say our newer members to the game, would it be useful for them to develop or get to know their sure shot and how far it goes? So sometimes when you're playing with new players, they're asking you, what club shall I use here? What shall I do there? Whereas really, if there's a stock shot, which could be like a bump and run with a 5-wood or a hybrid, and then 8 out of 10 times that's going to go 80 yards or 100 yards. Surely to work on that must be a good thing, just to know your game, and you've got that escape.
Yeah, look, you getting a stock shot. having a club that you're comfortable with, and being able to put the club behind the ball and know pretty well that you're going to hit the ball to a certain spot and it'll be fine is all you want. If you take, let's take the second, Jed. On the other Monday night I mentioned this, and I'm not advocating that people necessarily do this, but let's look at the second. People stand on the second tee and they take out a club which they think that they're going to get to the green with a bit of a bounce and all the rest of it. You've got the out of bounds on the right, you've got the bush on the left, and the out of bounds is in play, and the bush on the left is in play, and all of these things. And then if they knock it down there, they've got to chip it on, and they've got to hit down the bank and hold it, and all of these things happen. If you've got a newbie to the game, if you've got somebody that's not going to get consistently on the green, that's always going to be short, just over that old bunker on the right, all of those things, what would happen to their score if they took a 9 iron or an 8 iron and hit it left towards the bush, but not enough club that's going to get there, went up to the ball and knocked it on with a wedge and took 2 putts and walked off? Are they going to be, now I'm not saying take a 9 iron, but if you are consistent, if your best attempt, other than a great chip and a putt, if your best attempt at that hole is a 4, and by the way, it's a bogey hole for a lot of players. If your best attempt there on a good day is generally a 4, then I'm saying take the risk out and knock your 9 iron or an 8 iron down the left, knock it on the green and walk away. Don't bring the rubbish on the right in play, and don't bring the bush in play. It doesn't make any sense to me if you're playing it as a par 4 generally anyway.
Well, you get a shot, don't you?
What strategy? Say again?
Well, most players will be getting a shot. And it's so early in the round to become like the graveyard of dreams, isn't it? We don't want that.
Absolutely. Now, look, as I say, I'm not advocating that a player who can hit that green with a 6 iron, a 7 iron, 8 iron, stands there and says, "Oh, I'm going to hit a 9 iron." I'm not saying that at all. I'm just using this as a way of highlighting, hopefully, how ridiculous it can be to stand on that tee knowing that it needs your Sunday best to get there, and you're usually left to right, and you've been in the out of bounds more times than you've been on the fairway, and you stand there with the club there behind the ball going, "Don't go right. You always go right." You're not going to swing with that. And if you stand there and look left and I think I can't hit the bush here, but I can knock it down there with an 8 iron, off you go, and you knock it down there. You've got a shot in, and away you go.
I'm not
playing to your strengths and having your strategy to suit.
I'm not going to rain on the parade here, but Rowney has got a unique hole where there is no escape, isn't there? And for many, and for many, it can be quite daunting, and that is the eighth tee.
The 8th, all right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, what do you mean? What's daunting about the 8th tee?
Well, you have to hit a shot that is airborne and clears that vegetation, doesn't it?
Well, right, you're downhill, how far is the vegetation?
Oh, I think off the ladies'
how far have you got to hit it?
It must be 60 yards, 70 yards.
Right, so you're telling me that downhill that the ladies can't hit the ball 70 yards with a hybrid club and get it. Now, my view with that would be, what club do I need to take here to get it over and through the green? What I want to do here is I don't want to think about clearing the green. My strategy here is to get the ball through the green and beyond the green. Now, if you start to do that, then you'll start to take less club and you bring it back to the green. But I don't look at that as saying, trying to avoid not going into the bracken. Take a club that gets the ball in the air for 70 yards, 80 yards, 100 yards, whatever it is. Get it through the green. It's not an issue. I think that people go there thinking, I've got to give this a whack, and let the club do the work, get enough loft in the club which allows you to get the distance as well. And most of the newbies can get there with a high driver. By the way, drivers, if you're going to driver as well, you want to hit that. If you want to hit a driver, then what you do is you're going to hit the ball on the up because you want the ball in the air. You're not going to hit the ball down. You're going to bring the, if you hit the ball down, you're going to be bringing the ball into the bracket. So I don't see it that way, Jed. I see it as a way of being more positive. What club do I require here to get the ball past them through the green?
What I'm
Not
saying.
What do I need just to get over?
What I'm saying, John, it is the only shot at Rowney where you have to get the ball airborne. You have to. There's just no alternative. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the good thing is by attending the academy, by having good coaching, is that they can gain the confidence that the ball can be elevated and fly towards the green. But I know from experience that sometimes it's a sweaty palm moment whilst they're on the tee.
Right, so what the sweaty palm experience is brought in by is there is bracken here. I always go in the bracken here. I can't see where the ball's going. If I don't hit my best, I'm going to be in the bracken, etc., etc. Instead of focusing on their target, their target changes, Jed. If they say, what club and swing do I have to have here? What shot do I need to make here to get the ball through the green, over the green, beyond the green? And that will change the way that they think. So they stand on the tee and they only see their target beyond the green. Now, I know we want to be on the green, but for the purposes of this exercise, I want people to take it beyond the green.
Yeah.
Swing beyond the green. Yeah. Don't look at the hole of being your target. Don't look at the green. And they will get over that bracken more often than not by doing that, rather than being focused on avoiding going into the bracken. The target becomes everything. You swing to your target, the ball goes to your target much more if you focus on your target. Everything is driven by your target and allowing your body to move to your target. So it's all about this change of strategy. There's another change on that hole. My strategy here now is to get the ball beyond the hole, beyond the green. And you will change the way that you swing, you will change the club that you use, and you will change your mindset.
Lovely. Well, we're up to 30 minutes. That has gone so quickly, John. That's fantastic.
Wow. Did that make sense to you, Jed? I get that.
I love it. I'm all over it, John. I just love it. I mean, the things that I've learnt, recently, 80%, learning about spin, and in fact, trying just go out and try not to put spin on the ball is fun in itself. It's fun in itself.
Well, look, somebody said to me the other day, and that it might have been in fact last night, that one of the early coaches, I forget who it was, actually said that actually hitting the ball straight is the accident. Hitting the ball with the right spin is the accident. When you hit the ball left, it's harder to hit it straight. So if you assume that you're going to hit the ball with a left to right or right to left spin, because the club head isn't coming square as often as it should be, if you assume that, then when you've got a wind and it's going as out of bounds, you don't want the spin on it, do you?
Yeah.
It's going to cause you problems. So just relax with it. But my suggestion to everybody is to get a card from the club and put their own greens in regulation on the card. By greens in regulation is how many shots does it take you to comfortably get on every green. That will dictate, and then allow yourself 2 putts, and that will dictate what the par of the hole is for you, and relative to your playing ability and how comfortable you are on the golf course. And when you do that, then create a strategy of where you want to be on each hole in order to give you the best chance to do that. And that's how you create your strategy, and allow for wind changes and whatever, and be flexible in it as well. But have a basic strategy which gets you around the golf course with as little tension and as little angst as possible. And then you can enjoy a lot more.
And that is for all levels. All levels. Have a little plan, work to it.
All levels. Right? Having a strategy is more likely to avoid the catastrophes.